Welcome back to the Geometry International Honors Summer Assignment Help video series. In this part of Part C, we are going to practice finding some x-intercepts and y-intercepts. So let's start with an example where we are looking at the graph of a line and we're going to identify its x-intercept and its y-intercepts. So we'll start with the x-intercept. That would be the point where the line crosses the x-axis. So that would be this point right here, and we're going to identify the coordinates of that point. Okay, notice if you're on the x-intercept, every point on the, if you're on the x-axis, every point on the x-axis has a y value of 0. And you can see here that our, x value is 3, so the coordinates of the x-intercept would be the point 3, 0. And then to find the y-intercept, okay, that would be the point where the line crosses the y-axis. So this point right here. And if we're on the y-axis, notice every point on the y-axis has an x value of 0. So we know the coordinates of our y-intercept would be 0, and then the y value of the point where the line touches the y-axis, and that y value is 5. In this next example, we're given an equation in what's called standard form, and let's use that equation to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So let's start with the x-intercept, and remember the x-intercept would be the point where the line crosses the x-axis, which means the y value would be 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that equation, 4x minus 3y equals 9, and let's replace the y with 0 and then solve for x. So we would have 4x minus 3 times 0 equals 9. And then 3 times 0 is 0, so we'd have 4x equals 9. Divide both sides by 4, and we get that x is 9/4, or if you want to call that 2 1/4, that's fine. So the x-intercept is 9/4 because the line crosses the x-axis at the point 9/4, 0. And then to find the y-intercept, remember the y-intercept is the point where the x value would be 0. So again, let's take that equation, 4x minus 3y equals 9. And where we see an x, we're going to replace that with 0 and then solve the equation for 9. So we would get, 4 times 0 is 0, so we'd have negative 3y equals 9. We'll divide both sides by negative 3, and y is equal to negative 3. So our y-intercept is at the point 0, negative 3. This example is similar to the last example, except this time our equation is in slope-intercept form, but we're going to do the same thing. Let's start by finding that x-intercept. And so to find the x-intercept, again, that's the point where the line crosses the x-axis, which means the y value is 0. So let's put a 0 in for y, and let me start by writing the equation. The equation is y equals 2x minus 13. I'm going to put a 0 in for y and then solve this equation for 13. Okay, so to solve for x, I need to isolate this x. So let's start by eliminating the constant term, and we'll do that by adding 13 to both sides. All right, and we get 13 is equal to 2x. We'll divide both sides by 2. And then, I'm running out of space here, x is equal to 13 halves. All right, so our x-intercept is 13 halves because that's the x value of the point where the line crosses the x-axis. And then to find the y-intercept, okay, that would be the point where x is equal to 0. So let's start with our equation. Y equals 2x minus 13. And where I see an x this time, I'm going to put a 0 in. Okay, so this one we just have to do some arithmetic. 0 minus 13 is negative 13. So our y-intercept is negative 13 because that's the y value where the point crosses the x-axis. Now in this example, we have the equation x equals negative 7, and you'll recall from our previous work that any equation of the form x equals a constant is a vertical line, so I'm just going to roughly graph what this line would look like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This line would be a vertical line that goes through -7. I kind of missed it on the x-axis. So I believe on your summer assignment, the directions say identify the x and y intercept if they exist. In this case, we don't have a y-intercept. There's no way that this vertical line would ever touch the y-axis. So we have no y-intercept, but we clearly do have an x-intercept, and it's right here at -7. Okay, so here's how I would write this answer. For the x-intercept, okay, I would write the point -7, whoops, can you read that? Should be -7, 0. And then for the y-intercept, don't just leave it blank. I would say none. So that way I know that you know that this vertical line has no y-intercept. And then last but not least, let's look at this equation, y equals 4. And you should recall that y equals a constant represents the equation of a horizontal line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, it would look something like this. So you can see that this horizontal line would never touch the x-axis. So let's write our answer like this. For x-intercept, let's say that there is none. And then for the y-intercept, this horizontal line touches the y-axis right here at +4. So the y-intercept would be the point 0, 4. It's the y value of the point where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so that's our part C. I hope this video has been helpful. And if you have questions, be sure and ask me when I see you at school.